Let's cross now to senior France 24 reporter Catherine Norris-Trent in Dubai. Catherine, you've been following these evacuations for several days now. What is the latest on that front?
Countries are really stepping up the evacuations now that the security has been re-established around the international airport and the military part of that, which is in use. The US says it really wants to ramp up evacuations so it can get around one flight taking off from every hour from countries who want to do so. US military commanders are in contact with Taliban commanders around the airport. And they said they've managed, along with British troops and troops from other nations, to get order back there. Of course, we saw those terrible scenes from a few days ago when thousands of people have breached the walls of the airport and were on the tarmac and clinging to aeroplanes. It says now that the order and the security has been put back in place, that should not be an issue. So the US is really stepping up its evacuations. It said its aim, the Pentagon, is to get 5,000 to 9,000 people a day being flown out of Kabul. We're not there yet. And there are an awful lot of people still waiting to know what happens to them. France has got more flights on a rotation from Kabul to Abu Dhabi, where it's got an airbase. One flight again took off in the night, another one leaving this morning or in the afternoon. French nationals and other foreign nationals who'd been sheltering in the French embassy were actually bussed across the city and went to the airport. And other countries too really stepping up their evacuations. There's been some criticism of some flights leaving rather empty. For example, an Australian flight had just 26 people on board on a C-130 plane, which normally can hold 130 people. So there are issues about capacity, but this is a big logistical challenge as well, we mustn't forget.
And Catherine, in addition to those evacuations, numerous nations are also expanding their visa schemes for Afghan civilians.
Yeah, that's right. We're having new special visa schemes being announced. There's criticism that they simply aren't enough. If we look at what the British government has announced, they've announced that they're aiming to take up to 22,000 refugees and asylum seekers, people fleeing Afghanistan in the next 5 years. So how that breaks down in the next year, they said they're going to take up to 5,000 people. And this is expanding it out from people who've worked with the British Army or been translators, interpreters, auxiliaries for the military. They're expanding this out to vulnerable people, women, children, ethnic minorities, those who may fear themselves to be in the firing line under the Taliban. Now, criticism is saying that 22,000 is nowhere near enough. And you look at what other countries are doing. The US so far saying that they're probably going to settle around 18,000 people. They're saying that number is fluid and could go up depending on the demand. But there's real questions just about how accessible these special visa schemes are, because people are going to have to fill them out while waiting in Taliban-controlled Afghanistan, gathering paperwork, which could also be used as proof against them, they fear. Or if they have to flee abroad and wait for it, they have to find the physical means and the money to do that. It's all very uncertain, of course, with other transport links apart from air routes. Getting to the airport is difficult enough, but getting out of the country by road is hugely dangerous by any of the routes.
Thank you, Catherine. Sounds like a lot of not only logistical issues, as you mentioned, but also administrative issues to work out and conditions that are very difficult. We'll have to keep it there. Catherine Norris-Trent, thank you so much for your reporting there.